is correct. I love how that
Thank
rhymes. Nice is correct. You're listening to episode 81, and I almost just said insane blather. Like, it's not even like a joke. Like, ooh, wow, instead of inane. This is inane blather where we just act like real
awesome.
Like super
awesome to the max.
And we explain to all of you mouse-brained imbeciles all of the reasons why
capitalism is bad.
And send you out into the world yelling your favorite phrase. But no,
Let's
really,
say it together now.
It's pretty much just a show for
headstrong, stubborn, quibbling, self-centered, vindictive, obnoxious, hormonal, sexually preoccupied, evil, thieving, cross-dressing jerks.
And I realized there's a way for me on this tablet to be using two apps at once, and it would be quite helpful. And I forgot to look at how to do that. I feel like a straight up fucking boomer right now.
You know what this goes along with exactly what I was just thinking, is that I like our commitment to just always going with the first take. Like, I think we've started over a couple times, like a handful of times, and this is our 81st
something that's
episode.
Literally unlistenable or uneditable.
Yeah, like if there's technical issues,
I can't
or
do
like,
anything with it.
Yeah, there was a lightning strike that felled a tree, onto my house.
Well, that one time that our third co-host died, we didn't go with that.
I mean,
real listeners know.
We're saving that for Sweeps Week.
Yeah, no, I hold on to the recording. That's for sure. That was sick, the way that dude
incriminating.
died.
Yeah. But,
yeah, he just he started choking, and then he was all like,
and we were like, he said it, our catchphrase.
Exactly. It's like
mental illness is when you're right wing.
That's that's back when we were right wing. So, I mean, if we're gonna do small talk, everyone knows, no matter where you are, it's cold as fuck. It's still snowing here.
True that.
It started snowing today. It is currently 14 degrees outside of my state-of-the-art podcast studio right now, and snowing. And I'm wondering if school is going to be canceled tomorrow, because it looks like it's not going to be fun to drive in because it's quite cold. I don't know.
Oh, I guess ours is not that cold. It's like 32 degrees. It's like a little sleet, a little snow, a little rain right in there. It's going to be like
sleet.
It's going to be in the 30s, 40s. It's going to be 50 degrees next week here. So,
nice.
Not too bad, but
yeah,
rainy.
It's finally warming up here,
but
yeah, and it's gonna rain this weekend here, I guess.
Thank goodness, though, because all these cold people, my pipe's frozen for 2 days.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
My drafty old house, this old house that some of you fools out there know about, was not very warm this past week. I actually let Sophia just stay at her mom's another night while I was still working on battening down the hatches and stuff. I was like, nah. I was like, it was 49 degrees in my kitchen this morning. My oven wouldn't even turn on. The temperature sensor wouldn't read correctly because it was too cold. I thought I broke my oven. But, just some slipshod insulation here and there, a couple of new seals around the doors. What sucks is that I have like these beautiful old doors and windows. They're trash. They suck. I love how they look.
No insulation.
The back door, though, I mean, it has a little set of 6 window panes. I had ice on the inside of the window in my living room. It's like, this isn't working, and I mean, I had all these heaters going and stuff. I wake up, it's 49 degrees in my kitchen, and I do not want to get out of bed and go to work. That's when it was 2 degrees, though, when I was going to work. It was just brutal. Wind chill at -11 and a drafty house with old windows. It's brutal.
I'm just thinking about all these like alpha mindset guys being like, yeah, you just got to get up out of bed. You just got to do this, and how like far removed it is from people's realities of like pulling yourself up for your bootstraps and what that means for like the working poor, like how it's like, it's not like that easy to do. Like, you got some things on your mind. But,
the other
you didn't get your
window-
protein shake? Yeah.
The other window in my house that had some ice on the inside was the one in my shower. It fucking sucked. That's one of the coldest parts of the house. It's the furthest away from the wood stove. It's hard to keep it warm, and then that fucking bathtub, that old bathtub, is so cold in the winter. I have to like heat it up, and I even went under my house last year to be like, gosh, I gotta put up some. It just must not be insulated. Is it just directly to the crawl space underneath? No, it's not exposed to the crawl space. I'm just like, it's just a cold ass fucking bathtub. But no, I just some cheap, cheap. Cheap is very cheap when you're throwing it in your cart at Walmart, but some window insulation kits, I just hate them. I didn't think they would do that much, but they really do a lot. Just the clear plastic film that you stretch across your window, it really does make quite a difference. What was nice is just putting it directly over those window panes, those old, it's probably lead in all these window panes, and it's like, but just getting it directly over that, huge difference. Getting a little seal around my kitchen door, huge difference. Although then once it got to like Sunday and Monday, and I was like, gosh, this is really working a lot better. I was around the house, so I was able to keep a fire going, this and that. It's really staying warmer, easier in here. I'm like, oh, well, that's because it's a balmy 17 degrees today instead of 2. It's like, I guess I'm sure that does make a difference. But hey, this old house, no frozen pipes. I had them on drip since Thursday. No matter what, the water did not stop running slowly. No matter what, because I was like, that is the last thing I need. It's a goddamn frozen pipes or
I just really
something
didn't
to burst.
think that it would be that cold with us. Like, ours definitely froze.
17 degrees over at your house is insane. That's
it was
so
13,
cold.
And but it's like we have heat on, and like it's not like we're leaving our cabin, for weeks. It's like we're using it just like regularly. But hey, lesson learned for sure. That's never going to happen again, because anytime it's going to be cold, I'm not about to go 2 days. I couldn't even wash my dishes. It was so hard for me.
No, but running
but
water, it's like...
It was, I mean, obviously you know how important it is and stuff. It just, like, really fucking sucked. Like, it really sucked that and like the thought of it constantly on your mind until it comes back on. It's like, what if one of these pipes bursts?
Yes,
oh my fucking
exactly.
God. What if one of these pipes bursts? And it would really suck, because it's not going to be, the thing is, the guys were like, it's not going to be a pipe under the ground, because that would be like, way like you would just have to dig it up, which would suck, because it's like under the ground, it's warm. It's like this is not like the Arctic where it's like permafrost or something. It's like, this is deeper down. It's like a pretty regular temperature all year round, but it's like going to be something like coming up under your house, you know, so then you have like a burst pipe like in your crawl space
up to your kitchen sink. Yeah, if you don't leave like your cabinet doors open, which you don't want to do either, because of course if you're like
it's
a normal
cold.
idiot like me, no, there's a bunch of like chemicals under your kitchen sink because you're a dumbass, and it's like, I'm not going to leave that open while my dogs are at home. No way. Oh my God, my dog, she always, if I leave my backpack within reach and on accident, or like in a chair and one of the pockets is open, she gets in my backpack, and I'm so glad she's okay, but regardless, I was really mad because she got a bottle of kratom capsules and had torn up a bunch of fucking drugs, and it was all over my bedspread. And I was like, this shit cost me $35.
Oh my God.
I was like, you better be okay. I'm going to be so mad if you're also sick.
Why would she even want that?
No, she doesn't. She just chews up. She loves chewing up plastic stuff. Anyway, it's really cold. Hopefully it's all going to get better. It's so bad for some people. I mean, I can't imagine if
Kelsey
you're like
and I
living in
took
the
a
Great
moment.
Holy shit.
Kelsey and I took a
crazy.
moment. Let's all do this. Anyone who's listening to this, I know that everyone who's listening to this, I know that you have a place to live. Took a moment to be so unbelievably grateful, even if it's 49 degrees in your house. Imagine being outside. Imagine being unhoused and like what it would mean if you can't get to a cold weather shelter, you don't have the wherewithal, blah, blah, blah. You got these things going on. It is so motherfucking cold outside that it's like going out there without like being all bundled up. That would, imagine trying to sleep in that. Man, it would be so fucking
It's really difficult.
cold.
Yeah.
So that's
just
what
to
I was thinking
fall
about.
asleep when you need sleep. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Something gets
just-
wet, and then it's like it won't dry out and it's cold.
Sometimes
and,
the air was like if you take a sharp inhale, like make you cough. Like it's cold out. It's like
well,
very
maybe
dry,
for you. Yeah.
cold air into my
Weak
warm,
white
wet
woman.
mouth.
No.
Yikes.
My warm, wet mouth. Come in here, Mother Nature. So I had just a few random things, and I keep tweeting them out anyway. But I realized through all this, becoming a mature adult is realizing that. Becoming a mature adult is realizing that out of all the euphemisms for masturbation, beating off is the funniest one. Way better than whacking or jerking off, let alone wanking. Fuck you, Britain. Stupid.
Yeah.
That is a
Wanker.
clown ass way of saying it. Beating off is just really funny. Yeah, the dude was
It
just
sounds
beating
so
off.
angry.
What are you going to go beat off? What are you going to go beat off about it?
Yeah.
Chappelle's show back in the day. I beat my dick like it owes me money. Hilarious.
I like it. Yeah. It's a very aggressive way to describe it, I would feel.
Which makes it funnier, too.
Yeah.
I get some people say spanking
It
it.
really
That's kind of funny,
gives
but
you
that's
a
not
visual,
a normal
I
way
feel
of
like.
saying it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Women don't have the fun stuff. Oh man, my ex, she hated it when I would jokingly say, "Oh, you're gonna be flicking the bean." She's like, "Stop saying that."
Yeah.
That is so
I know.
horrible.
I don't know
But-
how we're simultaneously like the sexiest things ever and then have like the worst things to refer to our stuff.
Right.
It's like vagina, cool. Yeah, that's
Snatch.
really what it's like. Yeah, I'm like boobs. I'm like boobs. That's
It's just-
what those.
yeah, that's
get?
already a
Are
funny
you fucking
word.
joking me? God, have you ever seen boobs? Because they deserve a way better name than that.
Well, it's like two
Like,
O's. It's already
No,
They
that's
look
such a child's talk about.
they look boobish.
But that's too goofy. It's too goofy,
Goofy
for boobs.
boobs.
You
got
Yeah,
some, hey,
I'm not
gal,
a- not a
I don't know,
fan.
lady, you got some goofy ass boobs.
I'm just goofing, new boob goofing.
New boob goofing.
Nice.
I also had time to think. He's got like a utility belt and everything. Why doesn't Batman have a gun?
That's kind of
Like on his utility
you
belt.
know?
Why don't you just have a gun, bro? What's wrong with you? You're in Gotham City.
Yeah,
You have a utility
that's
belt
kinda
with
stupid,
shark
honestly.
repellent bat spray, but you don't have a gun? Everyone's got a gun.
It's like I'm not
sure you
like
could
other
find one.
girls.
I'm not
Yeah.
like other bats.
Yeah. I don't carry a gun, unlike other bats.
I don't even care that he's a misogynist.
He can carry a gun. So there. Oh shit! I accidentally typed something. Didn't mean to do that. Where did it go? Just getting used to beating off on my old tablet here.
Thought you'd have plenty of practice by now.
We were off mic. We were talking about Sam Hyde and stuff like that. I don't know if I ever brought this up, but I have in here. Gosh, this note list is really deep. Oh man. ContraPoints once said, "There have been many revolutions over the past few centuries and a total of 0 utopias." It's kind of a shitty point. Anyway. Let's see.
So stop
So what did
trying.
I say? Yeah. The lesson is never try.
If
as
at
Homer
first you don't
Simpson
succeed, just give up. Yeah. And
It's like, yeah,
Hey,
Homer
forget
says,
about
it's
it.
like, well, kids, what happened? You tried your hardest and you totally failed. The lesson is never try. I said
that.
the problem with discussing quote unquote dark humor so-called dark humor, if it can so be called.
It can so be called.
And people online completely have ruined that phrase anyway, but you know what I mean with dark humor, is when people frame it with the question of, when does it go too far? Because that question is dumb. The question should be, when does it become not funny? Like, too far, that's a consistently changing or constantly changing line. We learn new things about ourselves and about society. We have to figure out who we're including in who, is being offended and whether or not it matters. I mean, that's just a fact, it's like you say about humor. Well, someone's always offended, it's like, sure, but who cares? But I mean, if it's one person that gets offended by something, I don't care.
Offended is not even the right word for it. It's like when it's like
offense.
Hurting, like really hurting people, It's like, and I feel like,
well,
yeah, the question is like, when
words are
does
violence.
it? But there's definitely like a difference. I feel like, because there are people that will get offended when it's like, but that's because you're like missing the joke. Like you're not like legit, like you're just like
you
offended
don't
by
get
it's like,
it.
but that's not,
I am
that's
mad
not,
at
you're missing,
you.
you're kind of missing the point here. Like you're like focused on like a wrong part of it or just an aspect of it or have a misunderstanding or whatever. I feel like that stuff happens, but it's like, that's why it's important to know, like it becomes not funny because it's no longer a joke.
Yeah.
It's not a joke at that point when it's not funny.
When it's like, it's not funny because it's making fun of me. And we're like,
That's the joke.
when it's like, you're only saying this not for comedy, you're saying it
right.
to
intent.
hurt people. Like there's more context around like,
and intent
like needed. It's not,
you can't just be
in a
like, well, you
vacuum.
don't know their intention or you can't prove anything. It's like, but that doesn't matter because it comes through somehow in whether or not it's funny. Like, when does it become not funny? Like, that's the discussion,
That's the joke.
If you're just out there just yelling
The N-word!
because you think it's funny to just say
The N-word!
then, it's a little different.
We do a little trolling. It's called We Do a Little Trolling.
That's nice.
But,
Yeah.
I
feel
just
like
say,
if
The N-word!
and people are like, why did you do that? I'm like,
That's the joke.
sorry.
I feel like if your goal is to make people laugh, that's different than like literally. I mean, you're talking about like, obviously you talk about right-wing comedians when you talk about this is like
so-called comedians.
their point is not to make people laugh. It is to trigger
Well,
people.
We listened to
Like-
Roseanne last week. That was not funny. It just, it was fun. We're laughing
can't
right
stop
now
laughing
thinking
at it.
about it. It was funny, just not
Oh,
in
man.
the way she intended, if she even intended to be funny. That's why it was funny, because you could just legitimately say, what are you doing right now?
Because I feel like a joke you can really break down, because I've been a nerd about this before, kind of like, if you break down comedy and like what makes something funny and like what kind of jokes, there's like wordplay and like how you're subverting, expectations and things like that. If it's like there is like a setup and like a punchline sort of situation. So you can kind of like dissect humor.
And it doesn't have to be
in a way
literal,
that's like so,
but there
yeah,
is, that framework still exists somehow.
yeah, like that's what makes it a joke, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not just you saying something.
If I'm just like your face, that's a joke. There's definitely a
that is a
subversion
joke,
there.
yeah.
No.
Something about that that'll make you laugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
About my
it's funny
face.
because I think sometimes right-wing comedians have been funny.
They've been known to.
Or I was trying to think of it as like, they've made legitimate jokes.
They've been known to.
But yeah, mostly they just want to go like,
Owned. Consider yourself owned, because you are.
that's all they really want to do. It's like, that's not a
Nice.
joke.
Nice.
Owning someone can be fun. but it's not a joke.
Ask the founding
It's not-
fathers. Hey, come on.
I mean,
There's a
and
joke.
owning someone can be funny. It can be a joke, but that framework still exists somewhere. There's a context. Like, people know the backstory of the person who got owned or who is being offended.
And
That's
their
the
relation
setup.
to the
And then
jokey and the joker.
The ownage or ponage, as some may say, of this particular noob is the punchline itself. You just and then you just end it with
"You little poopy bitch,"
and then you move along with your day.
Isn't that kind of like why people can be like why you could call me like a stupid ugly bitch and like make jokes, but because I know like it's a joke
Jokes.
because you think that
I've never told a joke
smart,
in my life.
beautiful, wonderful person and you love me so much.
Yeah.
And we know that's
It's
the
the
case.
subversion.
Like that's exactly like why that's why something like along those lines would be funny because it's absurd for you to be saying something like that because of the necessary context of our relationship being there if people didn't know us maybe or whatever, but that's like the whole thing of like I can joke like that about my sister but you can't joke like that about them or whatever because
Or
it's like
well,
you're
that's
not a part of this in-group.
hypocritical. It's like, no, it's not.
It's like
it's the
no,
essence
because-
of comedy.
Yeah, it's like because we're getting the joke and I'm not sure you do because I'm not sure you're like a part of this,
Yeah.
like you're all in the same in-group here that is like understanding the context necessary
Yeah.
for this joke to be funny and not cruel.
Right. Yeah.
So
It
I feel
isn't,
like there's a
and
lot
it
of
isn't as
context.
simple as punching up versus punching down. That could be a big part of it when
Sure.
a group of people or a particular person is the punchline. But I mean, it
punching
can
down line.
it can be very
Is
important.
that a joke?
It's like I could tell that really bad long joke right now about a punchline, but I'm not going to because it sucks. But everyone can just think in their head, oh, Doug would have told a really funny joke, and they just be like, this is how funny I am right here.
This is just a tribute.
Yeah, exactly. You got to
Doesn't
believe
sound
me, man.
anything like this joke.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm just gonna keep using this. When it comes to comedy,
Doug he's the real deal.
Go kill yourself. Go sit in the middle of the road and let a car run over you.
but yeah.
So forget about it, cuz.
Let's see. Dark humor. Problem with discussing dark humor. I'm just kind of getting some of these out of the way just because I've written them down and I want to say them, I want to tell you them.
Yeah.
That's why I
feel
tweet
like
them
it's-
too. I just want to say it. I want to say something.
What's interesting about comedy,
Batman having a gun.
all art, all art is subjective, of course, and comedy is
No, it's
like
not.
an art. So it's hard to. No, it's objective, like music.
Yeah.
There's good music and there's bad music.
There is right music and there is wrong music. That painting is wrong. This painting is correct. Yeah. This is art because it is
That's really
technically correct. No, what you're
The
saying.
best
Art is
kind of correct,
subjective.
yeah.
And what?
Yeah, and it's
Blah,
really
blah,
hard
blah.
to like to criticize humor in the way because it feels especially subjective because of the inherent thing about like humor and laughing at someone maybe, and we're talking like in groups and out groups. Maybe that means there's like an out group and like not being a part of it, and just like how painful it can be, and how like as an art form you're writing a real particular line with things about it being funny and offensive, but or not or whatever, and like a joke, like being like a great thing about humans is that we make jokes. It's cool. Like we're really funny and smart, and like the wit or whatever that it is that it takes to understand all this culture and crap like that. But
My
sometimes there's
dog
maybe
is
being-
funny, but my dog does not make jokes. My dog doesn't
They
joke
wouldn't have
around.
my dog on Letterman with a stand-up routine, Like,
Yeah, or even there's no setup or punchline. Regardless, you can make a joke without even saying a word. Just look at mimes; they are the funniest thing on planet Earth. But I was trying to burp right there too, so that I could do that as
Real
a
comedy.
joke.
That's
yeah,
real
comedy while you're talking. And then I took a big swig of this Waterloo lemon lime sparkling water.
The
and
orange
it's
cream
so
ones are the best.
Fucking cold, and I was like,
Get those
I can barely
Waterloo
hold it in.
Orange vanilla. They're the best. Thanks, Zach, for recommending it. It was the first person to turn me onto that shit.
Well, when I saw it,
the best.
Sophia picked this one out. She says, "I remember Nana had some of these." So
Yeah, we have some of those too. But the orange and vanilla, like they're like
okay.
creamsicles, pretty much. But that Waterloo.
Walmart's been slacking on its sparkling water lately, and so it's been kind of making me mad. I don't want to only drink bubbly. That's the fucking lamest brand. I like them, but no, I want something cool. I want some
Waterloo.
I want some
It's
limoncello
LaCroix.
LaCroix. It's the best, and ever since I got hooked on it, I haven't been able to find it anywhere.
Yeah, that's how they get you. Like, how they get me to what? Stop buying their products?
Yeah, exactly. How they get me to what? Start ordering it online? I'm not going to do that. Oh, yeah, it was cold enough that I took a picture of it, but I left half a can of Coke Zero in the cup holder of my truck, and I came out the next day. I was like, "Oh shit!" It was all just
floating.
frozen in place, like it had just, and it was just sitting in a frozen block of Coca-Cola. And I posted a picture on Twitter too. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm an idiot!" And one of my moots, if I'm being a being a Twitter loser, I was going to
What's
say
a
something
moot?
else. A mutual. One of my friends on Twitter,
Your mutes?
she was like, "Oh my god, I've done that way too many times. The worst is when I had having a 6-pack explode in the back, or something from leaving it in there overnight." I was like, "Oh my god," I would scream. And then the next day realized I left an 8-pack of LaCroix in the back seat of the truck. It was underneath my heavy coat that I keep in there because it's so cold out. And I moved it out of the way, and I was like, "Oh, fuck." And it was just completely
Was it
exploded
exploded?
out of the box. But at least it was just chunks of ice everywhere. I was like, all right, just start picking up all this ice. Like one of the cans was like wrecked. I was like, oh my god. But I was like, wow, I did exactly that. And I guess I was wrong. I'm not screaming. I'm just kicking myself a little bit.
just
So I was like, what a
fuming
dummy.
silently.
Yeah, just like, well,
enraged.
yeah, that happened. Yeah, that's gonna happen when you do that. That'll happen.
Yeah,
That'll
you'll have
happen
that.
To you. That's what'll happen.
Sure have that.
So why doesn't Batman have a gun? No,
Because it's not funny. What's the joke? Yeah.
yeah, because we just shoot someone, then it's not funny anymore. Batman's my favorite source of comedy. That's
it's
why it's
funny
the
when he
Gotham
bludgeons them in
Comedy
the head.
Club.
Yeah.
Live at Gotham. When I walk on the sidewalk, it is impossible to remain unaware of the number of steps I take within each square of concrete, and I attempt to always even out the steps taken over the course of a sidewalk section, like between driveways. This is
1000%.
normal, I hope.
This is ADHD or something, I think. I definitely do it too. Because then I start to feel like,
It's like if I have three-
keep getting my right foot too much in the same, like I
Yes.
keep getting 3 right foot steps and then I'm
Yes.
uneven. I'm suddenly like off balance. And like
I
walking
won't
upstairs
change it.
too, I have
I'll
to like
look at the way that it's like, okay, and then I have 2, and eventually if I step this way, then it'll overtake those lines. And this is all
I
just
shorten
like
my step
back
or-
of your mind nanosecond thinking too, because you've just done it your entire life. And like I
sure.
still
If I
do it
step
while
on
I'm
it-
driving.
yeah.
My mind is going back and
you're
forth
up on the sidewalk.
yeah, but my mind is going back and forth between each curb, going over each little driveway that I'm passing by.
Oh.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely pay attention to stuff like that. I tell, Umberto, they have to smack, if they're going to
Humby.
smack my ass, if they smack, one cheek, they got to smack the other one because otherwise I feel so lopsided. Like I feel so uneven. And I even had a guy before tell, like I went on a few dates with this guy on Tinder. I was like, well, if you do that, if you smack once, he's like,
His name was
I like,
on
could you
Tinder?
do the other cheek too? Whatever, yeah.
With this guy on Tinder.
his name was-
It's a cool name.
Yeah.
My name is
No.
on Tinder.
I told him that too, and I was
I
like,
believe
can you
Batman
do it the
should
same?
have
He's
a
like, so
gun.
it evens out? I got you. And
Yeah.
I was like, nice. You just knew right away.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, my ex, she would just either stare at me or then take the remote to change the volume back to an even number if I just left it on there. I was like, oh, sorry. She's like, don't just leave it up there on 31. Who does that? 30. Or do something else.
It's more important to me the sound has to be just right, because I don't care about the number as much, because if I'm in between volumes, that's a manifesto of petty grievances sort of thing, is like when you're clicking and you're voluming up and
Manifesto.
it's literally right.
Manifesto.
I hope you get ass cancer and die, you son of a bitch.
That's our manifesto sound.
Thank you. That's our manifesto, period.
Or actually, it should be like, come on. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've all been there. It's like literally my Bluetooth speaker is one of those where it's like, I want it there to be another step between 1 and 0 to be playing at like a certain volume.
Yeah.
Like this is too big of jumps that you're making, and it's making my listening experience less than it could be. You know, that's it's something that is I would say something of extreme privilege, born of extreme
Capitalism
privilege, to be
is
thinking about
bad.
stupid, bullshit like that. When I'm just like, but also I think that, you know what? Hey, I'm just a good critic. I missed my calling to be a critic. I would be so good at just ripping companies apart and their products so that they can like do better. That's like my dream job, is to just come in and be like, this sucks, fix this, do that. I could tell you everything that's wrong and how annoying your product is.
It's called quality assurance. You could get a job doing that. You'd have to
I would
work
be
out
really
the systems
good at
that are put in
complaining.
place
Yeah.
in order to measure the actual quality of each product or project, and make sure that the metrics that you have created are able to be met, or figure out.
It's called gut instinct.
Anyway,
you know?
okay,
Some of
yeah,
us
yeah,
just
that's
got
true,
it.
that's
yeah,
true.
and I could I shoot from the shoot from the hip or whatever. I'm just
They
a
call me
real,
the original hipster.
Yeah,
because I shoot people at work.
and I wish they wouldn't.
You know who needs a gun? Batman. But
Batman. That's what I say. That's when I'm running for office. That's my slogan.
and a
You know who
gun for
needs a
every
gun?
Batman. Like Marge was telling Homer, she's like, homie, it's easy to criticize. And he's like, and fun too.
It is easy because some of it seems like I'm a bozo, and if I'm noticing this, then come on, guys.
Yeah,
like, come on.
true. I'm not gonna supply you with some sort of solution, but
No, I'm.
first
You're the
step
ones
is
doing
discovering the problem. That's true quality
like,
control.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm not the one that's making this item, object, service, goods, whatever. You are. So
don't quote
why
me
do I
on
have
that,
to have ideas
though.
for you?
That was really loud. I'm sorry. But okay, so all of this just to lead into, I brought it up at the end of last episode, and I was going to go through this Twitter thread that I was in and get a better handle on like a layout, and I didn't. I'm just not. I guess I could have. I was gonna say I've been doing so much. It's just been shitty and this and that. Been going through some stuff with the local stuff. Shout out to Wendy. But also at the same time, I'm like, well, I did have a slow day at work and I beat Fallout 2 in the back room, so I could have been working on the podcast then. But I'd rather play Fallout 2 on company time. So, so the supposedly 100-year-old question of whether sex work is rape and should be
100-year-old question.
Yes. So we talked about it a lot after the show yesterday, because I knew that it would kind of start a fire, but it is an interesting conversation. But I think it's really stupid how some communists use it to like be so exclusionary, saying that sex work is not real work because it is rape, where you can be technical and say that, well, it is coerced sex because you're doing it for money and you need money and you wouldn't be having sex with this person
But isn't communism about having the workers having owning the means to their production?
That's socialism. Communism, there'd be no exchange of money for labor anyway. But okay,
but you're exchanging something for something, right? And like, it's not. Well,
so let's just go through here.
Yeah,
let's see. Someone's. It all started with someone talking shit about Hassan Piker. So that's where we can start many interesting conversations about online communism and just,
fucking stupid F-word bitch.
And he should just insert himself into every conversation and just be like,
suck my dick, idiot.
But
this is politics.
So we're not going to do it that way. But that would be
boring.
I hate women. I think there's only one gender, man. That's it. That's what I believe. Okay, Natalie.
And I forgot to add his one that we had from before that I could not find. But women are bitches, and we should kill them with a knife. Someone immediately called Suki's mom, this person that I follow that has been in so many stupid left infighting things. She's the one who hates Hassan because he is a sex buyer, as she says. And someone says, who fucking cares, Swerf? A sex worker, exclusionary, radical feminist. So it says, shaming Johns doesn't make you a Swerf. Excluding sex workers from your feminism does. I beg you to learn what terms mean before throwing them around. And I said, so if someone believes that, quote, sex work isn't real work, are they not excluding sex workers from their feminism? And I kind of want, like a feminist take on this. But it says sex work isn't work because it's rape. The people in that system should obviously receive support and be included in everyone's feminism, as abolishing the sex trade is a feminist issue. That does not exclude the sex workers, it centers them. And there's a couple different roads that go down here. For one thing, first tangent, someone says, well, if you're anti-sex work, you're a Swerf. LMFAO. So I wish you'd actually try to engage with my points instead of replying with something I've already explained my views on, then maybe this could go somewhere. And I said, well, you do exclude sex work, right? And you have very good reason to do so because you believe that sex work is rape. Why would you even be upset to be called a Swerf or sex worker exclusionary radical feminist, because it seems like a legit thing to identify with, to be honest. They said, because that term implies I don't support sex workers, which is untrue, as the feminist critic of sex work critique, that is just a typo, I think, of sex work is how it negatively impacts sex workers. I said, okay, well, I kind of get you. But I also asked, why is it rape? Said, because it's coercive sex. The worker only agrees on the basis that they're getting money. People that go to brothels know that the women they're paying for would most likely have no interest in them otherwise. And I said, so just because money is the reason? Quote, the worker only agrees on the basis that they're getting money. And I said, this describes what? 90% of wage labor? Abolishing the sex trade makes sense if it's part of abolishing labor for money. But I don't understand why sex is so different. And this is where it keeps branching off. We had a big conversation about this.
I just feel like
go.
She's just getting to decide how other women feel about being sex workers. She's getting to decide, no, you were raped. All of this is rape. You just don't know. You don't know better. You're being coerced into doing this, and it's like, this is the ultimate.
Well, you can agree that
taking control of
on that technicality, it's rape.
But who fucking cares?
Yes.
It's a technicality. It's like, no, it's not rape. It's coerced sex because of capitalism.
Yeah.
There's a way broader understanding than this. It's not the same. I told you this on our conversation last time. I have been paid before to have sex with someone. It sure as shit did not feel the same as when I've been like pinned down and forcibly penetrated.
Yeah.
I can tell you that much. There's a big fucking difference, and I feel like it's really insulting and really limiting to this conversation because, okay, so let's talk communism. So there's no money. So we're out here, no money. We just are what? To each according to their abilities and each according to their needs. What if I like to fuck? Is that not rape now because it's somehow coercive because I'm in like some mutual agreement? But isn't that literally exactly what's happening?
And some people need to get fucked. I mean, some people need to fuck. Like they don't have
everyone
a wife.
needs to get fucked. It's like the ultimate. It's the best thing we could be doing is having more sex workers, honestly. It's like if everyone was just coming and busting a nut and having a good time, man, the world would be a better place. But I just feel like she just gets to be
riddled with STIs.
Hey.
Well, if everyone has HIV, then no one does.
Who fucking cares? Yeah, exactly. But I just feel like she is getting to the side. It's like if I wanted to freely exchange my body for something that, and especially with sex workers, it's like there's so much consent that goes into it. You're literally knowing exactly what this is going to cost you on both sides. There's rules set out. There's like security guards at like brothels and stuff. Like there isn't, I don't know, anytime I've had that much consent involved in a sexual interaction in my life, besides with some maybe recent partners, where there's like very much like a conversation beforehand where you're going to like sign papers and waivers and say you're going to be in fucking trouble if you do any sort of shady shit. Like this is extreme consent. And in communism, I could do that for what? If I wanted to trade someone some of this top-notch blowjobs for like whatever I wanted, some sort of service, is that coercive or is that just like an exchanging of goods? Because that seems kind of like what it would be here now too. Like, I just want this, whatever, $300 for this blowjob. So aren't I able to do that? Control of my body.
And this is
to be able
all
to do that
under the
and not feel
under the premise of actual legitimized sex work, though. So, and that's what I hate is when, and this is part of the discussion at some other point where it's like, if you're talking about like a brothel or something like that, so often that is, I mean, it is the product of people that don't really want to be there. They're not in that position. They're trafficked or something like that. And it's like, yeah, but that is because of the thought that sex work isn't real work. It's way more coercive. That's why trafficking exists, because sex workers don't have a fucking union, they can't, they're doing this under a capitalist system is the problem, right? And they have no other
and it's
way.
prudish.
Yeah.
It's fucking prudish to think about this job, because what I think about is like, okay, let's take a massage parlor. There's not sex, but these women maybe are massaging people they never otherwise would be, touching them intimately and all this kind of stuff. It's only different. You're totally butt-ass naked in a massage. Sometimes guys get boners and stuff and all these kinds of things, that are totally not sexual or sensual. These kinds of things happen that would be like, oh my, like
if you're talking about technicalities,
in other situations,
it's like on paper, this isn't
exactly.
sex.
And on technicalities, it's like, this is like what you would call like coerced, having to give a man, a disgusting fat man who keeps getting a boner, like a massage because he's paying you. Your view of sex work is like the underlying puritanical beliefs that you still hold are showing through in your inability to see that sex work is real work and not just rape. Like you're seeing it in this weird, like closeted sort of, I don't know.
And also just in a weird, like theoretical way. It's like, when it's like philosophy instead of actual material analysis. So, okay. And so,
what this reminds me of?
Back to what I was saying? No, I'm just saying.
Descartes is all this, I think, therefore I am. That's the only way I can know I exist. All these other things could be made up. And then I think it's like, he's like this rich white guy thinking all these thoughts by himself, able to sit himself in a study and think and like be really super abstract and not have to deal with the real world if he doesn't want to. You talk about, I think it's Audre Lorde. She comes out, she's like a black lesbian woman. And she's like, I sure as shit know that other people exist. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
It's informed a huge amount of my life experience, like, you know, who I am is like in relation to these other people.
It's been proven to me by material reality.
For sure. Yeah. It's like hard to ignore. You know, this is what this seems like to me, is just like so far removed from like the real world, such an abstract and technical thing. It's like that is losing all of the nuance and all of it's like you're literally making it black and white, which as a leftist, how can you even do that?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
you're supposed to see the nuance in all of this.
Yeah. I mean, that's not all leftism, that's for sure. But it's what we would like to think. So it's like,
well, I mean, I feel like it's like you should know better because
women's bodies,
you say you do.
and by its nature is a feminist issue. This is the other person.
Men's bodies, how about? Let's
Yeah,
not
I
forget the
know.
ones.
I said that. I was like, well, that's beside the point, really. Implying sex is the same as your regular wage slaving is not something I agree with. It's much more traumatic for rather obvious reasons, which citation needed, and being painted as a choice is not accurate with how many people often had no other options and with how trafficking is a huge issue. Do you think it's a coincidence marginalized women are often overrepresented in brothels? And how many women in third world countries struggle with this system? And I said, and I mean, this is a problem with capitalism, though. So it's like, not with sex work. But I said, and I'm just going to kind of read more of my stuff because it's much better. I just happen to be not on fire, but actually having a conversation with this person. It was one of the few times on Twitter. It worked out kind of interestingly. And I said, for sure. But a huge part of that is the fact that people don't see sex work as legitimate labor. If sex work was unionized, a lot of those horrific issues wouldn't exist, in theory, yet by your definition, it would still be rape. Those peripheral issues, no matter how horrible, are not really part of the discussion, I think. Also, women aren't the only sex workers, but that's a non-point nitpick. Also, doesn't this kind of dilute the traumatic experiences of people that have been raped without payment, without somehow deluding themselves into believing they were choosing to engage in sex work? It feels really gross to me. I just don't think someone that was raped at a party would think it was similar to someone that has sex for money, like at all. Sure, you can say that they are, quote, technically both rape, but why are you talking about rape in such a manner? It's different, and that's a fact. And then there was a, let's see, okay, I think a response earlier in the thread, I think these issues are relevant when discussing how the sex trade is a tool of subjugation, and so capitalism plays into it as well. But yes, my point is mainly that it's rape. How else would you define sex that someone only partakes in to get something? And I said, how else would you define sex that someone only partakes in to get something? I would define it as sex work, personally. And let's see. Nice. Okay, so she says, sexual coercion is unwanted sexual activity that happens when you are pressured, tricked, threatened, or forced in a non-physical way. This also answers your other post about different trauma between different events. Sex work is unwanted sexual activity. And I said, right. And when that pressure, quote unquote, exists only as the broad systemic coercion of the capitalist system forcing us to sell labor to survive, I think that's called work. Not trying to sound snarky. I hope it doesn't sound like that. I've read. She says, well, but sex work is about sex, and you can't imply that it's the same as any other form of labor when it's a gendered issue and there's much more to it than the capitalist aspect. And don't worry, I didn't take it as being snarky. And I said, well, that's the issue. One definitely can imply that is simply another form of labor if all other things are equal. Like I alluded to previously, would this discussion be the same if all sex workers were unionized? Some people would rather literally get fucked for money than work in an Amazon warehouse or get yelled at by retail customers for money. She says, yeah, but as it stands, that's not most sex workers, which it's like, yes, I agree. That's a problem with capitalism. It's like, and it has very little to do with how I feel about Johns. A lot of the workers are trafficked, blah, 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 blah. A form of subjugation. Then again, I think we both agree we can't get to such a society without abolishing capitalism first. I said, yes, 100%. Also, Thank you for a great Twitter convo. It was like one of the, and that's most of the thread. We were going back and forth. So like we were replying to different things, and someone else had even commented. They're like, I'm just here making a comment so I can come back and read. But
I just feel like they keep missing the point because it keeps bringing up like this weird, it's like, I know about sex trafficking. I know about the gendered and the age and the minorities and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no shit. No fucking shit. We all know that there are people who are literally like grabbed and handcuffed and thrown into vans, or people like with men coming to them and being like, well, we could do it like this. Like that's coercive, like Andrew Tate style motherfuckers. Yeah. He coerced like women. That's fucking gross. We're not talking about that. You're saying that every single time. You're saying she makes me feel bad about myself. As a feminist, I want her to know that. She makes me feel like all of my friends and myself and people who have been paid, to have sex work, like we should feel like shit, like we're letting ourselves get raped. That's model, how she makes me feel. Yeah. That's how I feel like she is taking away my power by calling it rape when I don't feel that way. And I do know how I feel. Yeah. Just because you can come from this technical correct, you cannot tell me how I feel about this. I can tell you how I feel, and you're making me feel like shit. You're making me feel like a slut, honestly. Yeah. That's what it feels like. Like
you're literally
because it's sex. It's like, exactly.
Like the person is being misogynist.
Yes. Like I would way rather have some orgasms and get paid for it than sit at a job and have a cramp in my neck because I haven't gotten up from my desk in 4 hours, so then you get to call my decision, like literally letting myself together. Saying that you're making me feel like I'm choosing to get raped.
Yes.
Do you know how fucking weird it feels like to feel like that feeling in my head?
That was a different
not understanding of these situations.
A different ending in one of the threads, as I had even said. I was like, fine. And if you want to technically say that it's rape, then getting raped is real work. Fine. Sex work is real work. That's what I'll say. That's what lots of people will say. You're like, well, sex work is rape. Fine. Getting raped is real work. Support those workers.
Yeah.
So, and it's like,
if you wanna...
I mean, when I was still being snarky, back to Suki's mom that started this whole thing, I just gotta say, it was fun. She said, she says, he bought sex at a brothel, aka he is a sex buyer, referring to Hassan Piker. And I said, but why bring it up? Are you one of those all sex work is rape people? Genuinely. This is what started all this in terms of my interaction, because this came up on Twitter like 4 months prior or something, and it blew my mind. And I follow a lot of sex workers that are leftists, this conversation really pops off on left Twitter, that's for sure. I said, genuinely, and she said, yes, coerced sex is rape. And I said, what is coerced labor? Slavery, or is it assault? Is there a word for that? And she said, you will be amazed when you learn about the concept of wage slavery, sarcastically. And I said, wow, you'll be amazed when you realize that was kind of my point. So, exactly. But yeah, I wish that, I think I can, if I can find Suki's mom further in here.
I just wonder, honestly, I mean, I hope that she does like some nonprofit work or whatever to help these women, because regardless of how, or like donate to them or something, because also like, what are they going to do if no one like gives them business? If you're like, some of these people are like surviving. What are you supposed to do? I feel like Hassan choosing to go to a brothel seems like his way of trying to like support sex workers. And that too. I'm like, that's another leftist thing. It's like, so what? No wonder people turn to Jesus, because it'd be nice to get some fucking forgiveness once in a while. Leftists, good God. Like, they do need Jesus.
What do you want people to do?
Jeez, go back in time?
But that's the thing, is because in that particular case, Hassan still defends that. Especially I would say it's because he's trying to support sex workers and do things
that... To support people trying to make a living doing that. Yeah. It's like, isn't that a nice thing?
It was a very legitimate brothel in brothel in Brussels,
Yeah.
I think.
That's what.
And but it got raided at one point, so immediately, of course, Hassan for like a year, and it still gets brought up to this day. They're like, "Oh yeah, Hassan went to some brothel where they were sex trafficking young girls." It's like, nope. All someone saw was that it got raided. It got busted for not paying its taxes. Doesn't matter. It was a tax evasion thing. The place is still running. They had an issue, but gosh, now I'm trying to scroll through, and she was. The interesting part of this conversation is like the communist issue, because some people really just want to stick with theory that they've read or look up to particular people that are part of communist movements or socialist movements and go with that and be like, see, this person said, whether it's Karl Marx or Mao or someone lesser known, no matter what. Yeah, but look at this. Look at this speech they made. Look at this book that they wrote. You can't argue with that. I'm right. No, this is just what one person said. I hate the...
also, if anyone was going to be right, they would be right. Yeah.
No, I'm
saying... That person you're quoting. You know?
No, that's what I'm saying.
I know,
using it to back up these sentiments, it's like, what's the point of us having this conversation? It's like...
Isn't that a logical fallacy? Appeals to authority.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
And it's like there's really something to be said for the so-called great minds of any movement or ideology. That's the reason that the movement or ideology exists. But to look at it as fact or infallible in any way,
the gospel,
exactly. Look at it as
it's
gospel,
like dogmatic.
Is such a problem, and that's like more than just the inane traps of falling into authoritarianism that so-called tankies or Stalinists and stuff like that. More so than that, or that it could be just left fascism in a way. I just hate that aspect of being like a Stalinist or a so-called tanky or something like that on the internet, because any fucking Stalinist, just 19-year-old NB on Twitter isn't going out and doing anything anyway. But it's like
well, you know what I always say is that I love Karl Marx.
Yes, of course. It's like, but only referring. It's like even loving Karl Marx. It's like
perfect.
He's not right about everything. Plus, he was a crusty, smelly weirdo too. It's like
however many years ago, it's like things change, and they don't have access to all the stuff we fucking know about now. So they knew some good stuff then. Great.
And not everything they did or said then was perfect either. Even though some things
or ever
really
no
move,
one's perfect.
Move the all thought, like economic thought or whatever. In the case of Karl Marx or something forward.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find.
I'm kind of like
everyone's
got some bad ideas,
Oh, I forgot that the original tweet is. I mean, it's hard to say Twitter style. Anyone who's on Twitter knows how this looks, but it's like sees a terrible take, and then a space down the bio DSA/leftist/ Haas Twitter, Hassan Twitter, and that's where it went off the rails. And this one, they're like, Hassan, what the fuck did Hassan do? Like, you can say that, I mean, people could disagree with his takes all day. That happens all the time. He's not right about everything. I'm not going to be dogmatic there. That's for fucking sure. But it's like everyone's like, what are you calling out right now? What are you doing? And then it went, I mean, even someone says the way that Hassan is supposed to be an entry point, but people act like it's the end of their political education is crazy. Well intentioned, but damn, it's like, you know what? It's like. People just don't understand how far behind the normal fucking person is. Even if Hassan's supposed to be an entry point into leftism, it's going to be the ending point or a point that is not reached for the majority of people. Hassan makes millions of dollars a year, and no one fucking knows who he is. It's like, I mean... It's just the internet really clouds our minds, but
and And bitch, honestly, like, what's your point? You're just like literally out here trying to start a fight with someone on your own team where you think you're Michael Jordan or something? Get over yourself.
God.
Like, shouldn't you guys be friends
Ugh.
or at least just like passively like, whatever, hey, we're on the same team. I don't need to be publicly out here
it's
just
understandable
trash
to
talking each
say
other.
no to that if you think Hassan is a literal rapist. You know? It's like because
I mean, I guess it's like I want to know honestly, like no shade. It's like what kind of lives have these people led them to be so incredibly narrow-minded? Like these leftists, they're so narrow-minded. You have to be exactly a character out of a book who had the foresight to see what the future was going to be like 20 years from their birth, so they never took a misstep and were like totally not even touched by their society around them. Like all of these people feel like, what are they, like gods who just were born woke?
Yeah.
Like who are you? Were you ever younger? Have you ever said anything that wasn't a complete thought or like that you were just working through? You never learned anything? You were just born with all the knowledge?
Exactly.
Who do you think you are, Karl Marx?
It's either that where it's like, fuck you for being out here and acting like you've always been this smart or this woke or this progressive or whatever it is. Or it's someone on the opposite end who pretty much always has been because they're still only 20 years old. Like, you just don't get it. I'm sorry. I didn't get it back then. And it's like, you just... you haven't experienced enough life yet to understand the context. We can't plug ourselves into the Matrix and download everything and just know Kung Fu. You can't just know everything about the experiences of exploited workers or marginalized racial groups or whatever it is. Like, you just don't know yet. Like, and it's so good that young people, at least online and stuff, that more people have this starting off point of being further to the left often. But it's like, it's just the way that it evolves online really becomes like this self-defeating, you won't even call it a process because you don't go anywhere from there. Because then you think like, no, I got all of this, like, and I'm woke and what I know is right. And I have my principles and blah, blah, blah. It's like, what the fuck good does that do for the world? Kid, get off my fucking lawn.
And like, isn't that kind of like the most basic, like, isn't this like Socrates or Plato or whoever motherfucker back then who's like, once I think myself a wise man, I know myself to be a fool or whatever, something like that, where it's like, if you think you've got it all figured out, that means you're among the dumber motherfuckers out there, because anyone who knows anything knows that they don't know shit, you know, that there's so much more and that your opinions and like perspective is always going to be changing, and every single minute of every single day you're a new person exposed to new things. And if you think that you have dialed it in 100%, you're fucking wrong. You're incredibly immature.
You're Dunning-Krugering yourself. But ideologically. And we're over an hour now, and I finally found someone linking to this this paper from Marxist.org. I mean, where this is what I've been trying to think of this entire time, talking about dogmatic, like, you know, see, I'm already of this worship of the ideals and rules and ideologies of past communists, you know, and stuff. Because this is from the selected writings of Alexandra Kollontai. See, and I'm so dumb. It's like, I don't know all these Soviet thinkers. Sorry, man. I'm just actually having conversations about it. But it is interesting to see this conversation being played out in Soviet Russia in 1921 by this, well, let's see, I guess I could just actually like look up who Alexandra Kollontai is, because I'm not going to read this now. And you know what? And honestly, and it's like, I'm not trying to like confirm my biases here, but when I started reading through it, I'm like, this isn't that great. Okay. Like a lot of this is puritanical filler. Anyway, the title of this is Prostitution and Ways of Fighting It. Okay. A speech by Alexandra Kollontai to the Third All-Russian Conference of the Heads of the Regional Women's Departments in 1921. Our Workers' Republic has so far passed no laws directed at the elimination of prostitution and has not even issued a clear and scientific formulation of the view that prostitution is something that injures the collective. We know that prostitution is an evil. See, stuff like that, like this is in the second paragraph here.
Bullshit.
We
Yeah,
even acknowledge that
so...
at the moment, in this transitional period with its many problems, prostitution has become extremely widespread. There's ways of looking at it. Yeah, it'd be a problem because during this whole transitional period and stuff, people are trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And you've had a systemic collapse throughout your society, even though a lot of great things have happened. If you're in 1920s Russia, being part of the rising workers collective that is the Soviet Union, there are good things to be said for the position that some people are in, that lots of people are in, compared to what they would be under capitalist exploitation in the 1920s in a place like Russia. But still, it's like, that's not because of an inherent evil in sex work. It's in like, the exchange between goods and labor and how you are the way in which you're implementing your system to make that actually just exist in day-to-day life. There's a reason that so many people are prostituting themselves is because you, as the USSR, do not have a proper handle on how to get everyone's needs met in the proper way. That's just the way it goes. Just like how the capitalist United States has a problem doing that with the bottom, 5% of humans living there, But it was posted a few times. I'm like, I just thought it was interesting that I was like, it's just, I just think it's really stupid. It's just, really stupid to post this and say communists have already settled this debate. That was literally said by Suki's mom at a different part in this thread, this discussion. Why would we even debate it when communists already settled this debate? There is no debate.
I'm sure attitudes haven't changed at all since the 1920s surrounding women and sexuality at all, for sure, and like that has nothing to do with this conversation about prostitution, I'm sure. Calling it an evil? Are you joking me? I think it's pretty bad. If you're like gonna starve to death and you have to go be down with like some horrible, whatever, all these horrible things, yeah, that's awful. But I don't think that's the same as a girl on OnlyFans getting that bag,
or the same as the reasons why you want to eliminate prostitution in the Soviet Union.
Yeah,
it is different. I mean, let's see. I mean, it's let's see. I mean, some of this, it's like, how can you unironically post this as anything other than nonsensical claptrap in my mind? It's like, we must analyze in more detail the factors giving rise to prostitution. Bourgeois science and its academics love to prove to the world that prostitution is a pathological phenomenon, i.e. that is the result of the abnormalities of certain women, just as some people are criminal by nature. Some women, it is argued, are prostitutes by nature. Regardless of where or how such women might have lived, they would have turned to a life of sin. Marxists and the more conscientious scholars, doctors, and statisticians have shown clearly that the idea of inborn disposition is false. It's like, that has nothing to do with this conversation. I mean, maybe it did in 1921, sure, But it's like,
Exactly.
that debate is settled, yeah. But that's not what we're talking about, okay? It's like, it's like, oh,
proud
yeah,
prostitute.
well, you know that... but capitalism, they were engaging in phrenology, and Marxists didn't. So? That doesn't mean that some Soviet bitch had the right fucking ideas on prostitution. Sorry. So I just wanted to be rude.
Yeah.
But woman is on the one hand placed in an economically vulnerable position, and on the other hand has been conditioned by centuries of education to expect material favors from a man in return for sexual favors, whether these are given within or outside the marriage tie. This is the root of the problem. Here is the reason for prostitution. I mean, she goes into stuff about marriage, all this, and it's like, why the fuck are you
really
posting
mad.
this? Not everyone speaking to a, for the time, greatly progressive group coming up with many great ideas. But just because someone's speaking to the Women's Regional Conference in the Soviet Union in 1921 doesn't mean that she's the god of feminism. Sorry.
Or the goddess.
I know. I thought of that right when I said it, but I like saying god of feminism. Because God's a woman. Okay.
Yeah, I guess. If he wants to go by God for short.
God's a hot bitch, is what I say.
It just feels like it's a lot of... they get to decide like what sex is for, I guess. Kind of like so it's coercive if I want to get something out of it other than... like intimacy or whatever. It's like whatever you decide the value of sex is and like what its meaning is for me personally. Like you get to decide that because
boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, can't I? So I guess I don't get a choice. And you know why that is? Because I'm a woman. I don't really get a choice. You're saying that it's rape. It's all these kinds of things. And a lot of this comes down to because you're saying it's inextricably linked and all this kind of stuff. So it's like, so I guess I just never get control over my body without it being... like you just get to decide.
Yeah.
You get to decide for me. The communists have already settled this debate that it's always rape. I can't do it. It's rape, and
it does make me wonder
the end of that.
what.
But we're already gone way over.
It does make me wonder what Alexandra Kollontai, oops, did I select the right thing? Thought about abortion, but I digress. Oh, let's see. Got it. Okay. Yeah, let's see. Text you copied. Alexandra Kollontai. Wow. Just reading this. It said Google Books in a link. And I thought it said Garth Brooks. I was like, what does Garth Brooks have to do with this? But by the way, you could buy Garth Brooks's new CD box set at Bass Pro Shops, just so you know, for anyone who still has a CD player. Let's see, was a Russian revolutionary politician, diplomat, and Marxist theoretician, serving as the People's Commissar for Welfare in Lenin's government from 1917 to 18. So at the birth of it, she was a highly prominent woman within the Bolshevik Party. She was the first woman to be a cabinet minister and the first woman ambassador. It's like, badass. That's cool. So interesting. Doesn't mean that everything she says is gold. Sorry. Let's talk about the discussion that we're actually having. We're all lucky enough to be at the point 103 years later to have a starting off point of basic Marxist critical analysis on issues over the internet. Okay? Put all that stuff behind us. We don't have to defer to her. We don't have to defer to Lenin. Like, we don't have to defer to Kropotkin. Whatever. Like, all this is important, but it's like, I don't know. It's like
I just
gatekeeping, not only just not letting people in, but forcing yourself out and locking the gate behind you.
I just feel like, have they ever understood the concept of like foundations being laid for other things to be built on top of it?
Yeah.
Or is it just like the foundation's laid and then that's all you get? All you get ever is Karl Marx's ideas about it.
Well, if that's part of the
as far as you're going to go, because
foundation's pretty important.
I mean, well, yeah, duh. It's like the foundation of mathematics. It's pretty important to understand like 1 + 1 before you get to trigonometry, but you don't stop there. You don't stop at the most basic understanding of these concepts. You build on top of them. And unlike with math, with some of these things that actually do change, like society and like cultures and like all these kinds of things, you're like going to have to change and grow with it, with the understanding of these foundations that all these things are built on top of. But I just never get behind hero worship and like cult of personality stuff. It's like, are you
not entertained?
I mean, how can you not get it? That it's like, why would it be just this one person? Like, who is ever right 100% of the time?
Well, let's end it.
Nobody.
No one, especially not us. Let's end it.
Not even.
I had a thing in my notes here. I just realized that I'm turning 36 this year, and my dad had me when he was 36. Who want to have a baby with me? Hit me up. And we'll end on that note. But
that Doug guy, wow, what a piece of shit.
Yeah.
What a piece of shit.
So, okay, I love you. Shout out R.M. Brown. Shout out to everybody.
Everybody. Zach, Brian, Benina, cousin.
And all of you. Okay, love you. Bye.
Okay, love you. Bye.